Welcome back to another live episode of Mind Your Business, the podcast that gives entrepreneurs the tools, strategies, and the insider knowledge to build, grow, and scale like the pros. Now, I'm your host, Max Fortune, serial entrepreneur, business credit expert, and founder of GetBiz.Credit, where we actually help business owners like you unlock the power of credit without risking their personal assets. Now, today's topic is one that every business owner needs to hear about, actually, especially if you're trying to grow your business without maxing out your personal credit cards or draining your savings account. We're diving into vendor credit lines for businesses. So hopefully you can hear me today. And what they are, we're going to talk about what they are, why they matter, and how they can be the catalyst for your next level of success. Now, before we get into the nuts and bolts, I want to make something clear. And today, actually, we're going to focus on the what really and not the how. So because the how that's what we actually go through when we get into the GetBiz.Credit course. So if you want the blueprint, stick around till the end for ways to get started. So what I'm doing now is actually, I want to just say that joining me in the studio right now is AJ, someone who represents the voice of the listener. So you guys will meet AJ.
Yes, sir.
And so again, he's here to kind of ask the real questions that real entrepreneurs are asking every day. AJ, I want to welcome you to the show.
Thank you, Max. I appreciate that. It's great to be here. So, I've heard a lot about vendor credit over the last few weeks. So I got a lot of questions. Like, I'm sure I'm not the only one.
Yeah, I'm sure you're not the only one. Before you get into your questions, what I do want to do is I want to invite the listeners that if you, as a listener, want to call in, actually right now, I think we are doing a little bit of a live thing. We're kind of trying this live thing out. I don't know how it's going to work or not. If it's going to work,
it's going to have to work. It's going to work today.
We're going to see. But again, if you're out there listening to this right now and you'd like to call in and ask a question while we're doing this, you can kind of join AJ here. Actually, you'll be kind of live right into the studio. You can call 877-302-3363. Again, that's 877-302-3363. Jeez, that's a tongue twister a little bit. Okay. Again, the number's on the screen. It should be, if everything's working right, the number's on the screen. So, AJ, you said you had some questions.
A ton of them.
You got a ton. Okay, wow.
I know I'm not the only one.
I don't know if I'm that, but yeah, let's go with what you got.
So the first question that's really on my mind is really, what is vendor credit, right?
Uh-huh.
And why is vendor credit one of the first steps in building business credit?
So that's a great question, by the way. And vendor credit is basically, it's one of the first steps. I'll start off that way because it's easier to, or you know what, let me back up and explain what vendor credit is. It's really credit lines. Basically, they're essential agreements for purchasing products or services from a vendor. And the great thing about them is a lot of times you get the products or services and you pay them back over 30, 60, or 90 days later. The reason why they're some of the first things you should do or start off as a business is because they're, for one, some of the easier things to get to. It's where, if you're trying to build credit for your business, it's where you should start. You should start at vendor credit lines. So that's kind of why it's at the beginning. But I do want to go back a step further before you even, and here's kind of what happens for a lot of people. Some people just kind of dive right in and trying to go and get vendor credit lines without doing some of the initial phase 1 and phase 2 stuff I talk about a lot in the GetBiz.Credit program. And those phase 1 things are super, super important. They're super, the foundational things that are really important. And the challenge with that is most business owners that we talk to have done maybe 5 or 6 of them. It's like 12 things you have to do to get it set up. And we always talk about the 12 things, steps around here. It sounds like a 12-step program, and it kind of is for business credit. And you have to do those 12 things in order to even get to the vendor lines. But vendor lines is usually the first line that you can get. And a lot of times you can get those without having any credit at all for your business. And that's the important part of it, and that's why it's special. And it doesn't touch your personal credit at all. So that's why those things are super, super important, you know? So hopefully that answered that question.
Vendor credit line. So you said when you applied to a vendor line of credit, right, through vendor, you said they give you the inventory up front?
Right. So if you get a line of credit with a vendor, that means they're extending you the ability to get services or products from them where they would give you those products and then say, hey, here's your mugs.
Right.
Go sell them. Give me my money back in 30 days, 60 days, or 90 days later. Which the great thing about that is you get to get all the mugs. You didn't pay any money for it. And you get to sell these mugs, $10 a piece, $20 a piece. If it's a mug that says this right here, it'd probably be $30. No, I don't know. But you get to sell all the mugs before you get before you have to pay the vendor back. So you get product for free, or they're extending you the credit because they're assuming you're going to pay it back to them in 30, 60, or 90 days. You get to get it. This is a startup. So a startup can get some of these vendor credit lines where you can get product or service up front and not have to pay for it for 30, 60, or 90 days. And that's why it's important to kind of do that. And as long as you're paying those credits back before those windows happen, before that 30 day, before that 60 day, before that 90 day, then you are able to, that's how you're building business credit. So it's kind of like the first things, and it's the way you can get started in business credit without having any business credit whatsoever. It's the,
Right.
So that's.
And you did mention last week that you can use 100% of the borrowed line of credit, right? 100% of it. Okay.
So yeah, whatever credit they're extending you, and it doesn't touch your personal credit. So your personal credit score is not disturbed one way, and that's the goal. That should be the goal of every entrepreneur, is to not be using your own personal credit to fund or to grow or to operate your business.
Protect yourself.
Yeah, or you wreck yourself.
Protect yourself before you wreck yourself. It definitely makes sense.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
what kinds of businesses should be thinking about vendor credit initially?
So initially, really any business, every business, if you have product, service, anything, it's really kind of like the gateway to starting or establishing credit. So that's where it doesn't matter what kind of business you have, that's the place to start. Barbershop. How would that work for a barbershop?
Yes, let's say if I wanted to start a barbershop, I need some chairs.
You need chairs. Guess what? You need supplies. You
Right.
need, I guess, hair. You need clippers. So there's all kind of vendors who supply beauty supply vendors. And but here's the one thing that I do want to say, and I need to make this super, super clear for everybody, that not every vendor reports to the agencies, to the bureaus. So you just can't go willy-nilly and just say, hey, I got a line with here. And as a matter of fact, most of the time where business owners are doing business with, they're buying supplies and things like this, but the vendors they're
Right.
buying from are not reporting the credit, or they're paying for it up front out of their personal pocket. They don't have a business credit or a vendor trade line with them. You follow what I'm saying? So it's not helping them either way. And either of those two situations are not great. So you do want to know or do business with people who are reporting when you can and when it makes sense. But you do want to have some, it doesn't always work with every vendor. And so you can't just say, I'm not going to do business with you if you're not reporting. But you do want to find ones that do report.
It makes sense because if you're building your business credit profile and you receive a line of credit from a vendor, if they're not reporting to the bureaus, what actually is the point of making your payments on time? And
Well, no, you always want to make them on time regardless. Okay, don't listen to AJ. Always make them on time, people. But at the end of the day, well, at the end of the day, I get your point, though.
Right.
I understand. But you do want to just do it just because there's a saying that how you do one thing is how you do everything. You know what I mean? So you always want to just as a habit, make sure you're paying this. And again, when you get extended 30, 60, and 90s, make sure that you are actually that you're paying them ahead of that time. You know what I mean? So that's the super, super important. So yeah. So anyway, that's the question.
Stay on point. Just
Yeah,
stay on point.
Yep.
So what is the biggest common misconception that business owners have about vendor credit?
So one of the things is that what I just went through is that every vendor reports to the credit bureaus, and they don't. So that's super important to know that not every vendor is going to report there. And then it's the other thing that's super important is to know who's going to report, or the ones that you can get. Who can you start off with? Because again, if you're just getting started, you just can't go right to a lot of times to those credit cards and those other things, which is what most people do. Most people think that, hey, I got a business card, start with EA, and I can go right to getting a credit card, and you're skipping a whole bunch of steps, and people are wondering why they're getting turned down, or if they're getting some of the limits that they're able to get is so low, and that's because they have not laid down a track record to build. And again, it's credit. You have to get it, use it, and pay it off, and that's what they're tracking. That's what's tracking is your pattern with the credit.
Demonstrate that financial responsibility.
You have to. So it's super, super important to do that,
definitely makes sense. So, is vendor credit better than using a business credit card? Vendor credit better than using a business credit card?
So is you're saying it's been
Yeah,
it's different, you know,
because
as
there's
far
vendor credit and then there's business credit cards, right?
right.
So I guess if I'm lining the question up correctly, is vendor credit better than using business credit cards?
So like I said, they kind of serve two different purposes. So business credit cards, you know, they can be great, but they often require a personal guarantee and strong credit. So that's like I was talking about before. In the beginning, it takes a while to build that up. You know what I mean? But with vendor credit, it can be obtained without either. And also, it builds your business profile or your credit profile in a more structured way. So that's why vendor credit, that the difference with between the two is, like I said, the vendor credit is usually where you start. It's the starting block. It's where you how you built it, how you establish it. And business credit is actually for businesses who already have established it already. So again, in rare instances, you could have them have the business credit, but again, you're not probably getting, if you have not done all the steps in the beginning, if you're getting it, you're still possibly personally guaranteeing it, or you have low limits that aren't really, you know, as effective as it could be, you know. And before you go to the next question, I do want to just put this out there again, get the number out there. I don't know if it's still on the screen or not. It's 877-302-3363. If you have a business credit question that you'd like to ask, then again, feel free to do that. And so, yep, AJ, I don't know if you have any other questions. Do you have any more questions?
I have a lot more questions. I'm over here thinking about it now. So you did say that vendor credit, you can get a line of vendor credit without having a strong credit profile. You did say that. So with that being said, can vendor credit actually help you access funding later on down the line if you're only using, vendor credit?
You know what? I'm going to say absolutely to that question, and I'm say that because it's it's about building that strong vendor credit history. That's what you're after, and so even though you want to show vendors that you're reliable, that you can get credit, that you can handle it, and that you're reliable, that you can pay for it. So it's really that stepping stone that you need to get the bank lines, the equipment financing, and all the other high limit business credit cards. So again, it's the gateway, like I said earlier. So, and again, the vendor credit lines do not rely on your personal credit or your personal credit score, which is super important. When you're just getting out there, just getting started, you want to keep those things separate. Most business owners don't, but you want to make sure you're not like most business owners, that you kind of get that foundation. And that's kind of why we're doing this, these segments. And I see this, again, you and I, when we're calling and people are calling in, we see this every day. We see this all the time. We talk to people all the time. And so part of the reason was we wanted to get out here and just kind of share some information that can help entrepreneurs who are doing this. I swear it's so, it's interesting to me how many people we talk to that just have, you talked to somebody this week that just doesn't have it at all. They've heard of it, didn't even know anything about it. So,
and was running a business.
Yeah, and was running a business and have been for a while. So again, is this common? And again, if it's that person's you, I mean, I know that person's probably not you, but if you're a person, I should say, that it has been running the business for a while and just have not established, don't feel bad. It happens way more than it should. But again, the whole purpose of these things is to actually let people know how to do things differently and how to expand their business, how to grow it, and that kind of thing. So that's the whole purpose of this whole thing. So,
man, it's so deep. But how can vendor credit actually help a business get funding later?
So again,
well, I guess how quickly? That's a better question. How quickly can a business using vendor credit get funding?
You know, a lot of that depends on the vendor. So based on how that vendor, how often they actually use that vendor. So it's not enough to just get an account. And I'm going to tell you that it's very easy to get account. And listen, I've been a business owner for 30 plus years, and we're busy people. You can't always remember when you, because, okay, let me take it back a step and say, in order to build business credit, you've got to be very intentional, and you've got to use it and you have to consistently use it. So if I get widgets from the widget guy, and I keep saying widgets. I don't know why every week I get a widget. I got to find a new word, but whatever. I like widgets. But if you're using that, right? If you only buy from him this month, and next month you forget to go ahead and buy some more stuff, whether you need it or not, just understand it's helping you build business credit. You may have some more inventory. You just got to be more diligent in selling that. But what you should be doing, you have to be using it every month. You know what I mean? So you should be using it every month. 2 or 3 vendors, these tier 1 vendors, every month. So the wonderful thing about GetBiz.Credit is there's a dashboard in the system when you become a member, and that dashboard helps you track that you spent what you're supposed to spend with that vendor and that you're consistently doing it. And without that, that's a pitfall that a lot of business owners, you just don't remember. You don't remember. You have to spend a certain amount for it to even report, and you have to do it consistently. So if you're not tracking those 2 things, you could be doing stuff and thinking you're making traction, and you're really not. You're
mismanaging it. So what type of risks are associated with mismanaging the vendor credit lines? It sounds like if you mismanage it, there's a lot of risks.
Well, it's just like really any other credit account or whatever. If you're, like I was talking about earlier at the top of the show, we talked about late payments. I say pay everybody, pay them on time. Yeah, so you definitely late payments really can seriously damage your credit, especially if you're building business credit. That's the very, very last thing you want to do. And if you're getting a net 30, net 60, don't wait till that 30th day to pay it, because you might be paying it at the close of your business day, 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, or let's say you're on the West Coast, you're closing it at that time, but they've already closed their books for the day. So don't wait till that 30th day or that 60th day or that 90th day. Give yourself a couple of days, because the reporting. And then I'll tell you something that a lot of people don't look at when it comes to even their personal credit cards is there is a reporting day that there's a date that they'll tell you that we report. So maybe your payment is on the 19th of the month, but they're saying on the 15th they're kind of going or applying the interest to what the charges are on a certain day. Most people don't read the fine print into those credit cards and see when the interest. So if you're paying it off before that date that they're going to say whatever there, you know what I mean? So it's a little trick that you can utilize, and making sure that you're paying your payment to lower what they're going to charge the interest on, because there's a date that they're going to say whatever is on your account, we're charging you interest for it on this day. So if you're making that payment 24 to 48 hours before that date, then they're going to tax you on a lower amount, or they're going to hit you with the interest on the lower amount because you already had a payment's lowering it, as opposed to waiting till after that date. And that's how these credit cards, that's how a lot of people get like this towering debt and can't ever get beyond it, because they're kind of just paying the minimums, and the minimums don't do anything for digging you out. It's
crazy, because that should be the first thing you should know is the minimum payment, the payment due, and the date that is due every single month, so you could manage it right.
Well, it's not the date that due we're talking about. We're talking about the date that they're going to apply interest, and that's different than the date that is due. And that's in the fine print of whatever agreement you sign that most people don't read.
Most people.
So that's what I'm saying.
95% of people
they don't know the date, and that's the trick, is to pay your stuff down before that date. Or so imagine if you got $1,000 on the books, you pay $500 of it, right, and they're on the 15th they're going to accrue interest on whatever's on the books on the 15th, and on the 13th you get it down to $500. You can charge it back up the 2 days later. And then, as long as, right before the date, they're going to hit the interest on it. That's kind of a way. Anyway, that's just, I'm getting more into the weeds of a thing.
Giving too much away.
But, and again, that's more personal credit side stuff. That's personal credit. And it's, even though we're focusing on business credit, you do want to kind of be working on these simultaneously, but we're focusing on vendor lines, or how important it is to have a vendor line for your business. So that's kind of like the focus for today. But I do want to make sure I answer that question. And that is that I was talking about late payments can damage it for sure. And vendor lines or credit, when it's managed correctly, it's really a low risk and high reward type of situation. And it's a really great way to scale and grow, or to kind of build or establish yourself that way. So it's definitely the way to go if you have if you're trying to build business credit. You want to do it with vendor lines first,
Understood. So what about GetBiz.Credit that makes GetBiz, oh my goodness, what makes GetBiz.Credit different when it comes to managing or helping with vendor credit lines?
So I kind of mentioned earlier that one of the things that makes GetBiz.Credit really great is that for me doing this as long as I've done, when we were putting the system together, I was thinking about, okay, I put myself in the shoes or in the seat of a business owner because I'm a business owner too, and I understand how complicated it is for busy people, busy business owners to manage their personal life, manage this. They're trying to wear all these hats. So the GetBiz credit system kind of makes it really easy. One of the things that's super important is we're talking about these vendors, but I talked about at the top of the show that there's things you have to do before you even get to vendor credit. So if you don't have to sit there and wonder, okay, what are those 12 things, Max was talking about, GetBiz.Credit tells you, and not only does it tell you what those 12 things are, but it gives you a link to find those 12 things and get them set up before you even get started. Then you're on to phase 2. And when you're in a member of GetBiz.Credit, when you're in either the mobile app or on the dashboard of the website, again, we have both, you're seeing a status ring that as you're completing these different steps, those 12 steps, your status ring is closing so you can see, boom, I finished phase 1. Now it's time to move on to phase 2. And those visual aids help you.
Progress.
Yeah, they just help you. And again, visual aids help. They just help you to know because we're not expecting somebody to be focused on this every single day. So you're going to go do what you need to do, and then you're going to come back to it a day or two later, or maybe even a week later.
Check the status.
And you want to check the status of it, and you want to be able to update. As long as you're updating the dashboard, the status ring will kind of keep you on track and let you know what you're doing or how well you're doing with that phase. Once that ring closes, then you're ready to go to the next phase. So it kind of helps you with that. And the other thing that's super important is that it will tell you don't have to guess. Who do you need to do business with? You don't have to guess.
Make this up.
No, you do not have to guess.
What to do.
No, what to do.
Who to do it with.
Who to do it with.
How to do it.
How to do it.
Where to go to do it.
Where to go to do it. Hey, man.
And sometimes it does it for you.
Yeah. So you don't have to, none of those things you have to worry about. And that's the big advantage. You just don't, I always liken it to like having a personal trainer. People invest, and I think it's a great idea sometimes to have a personal trainer or a guide or a mentor or somebody helping you so that you don't have to make all the mistakes. And that's what the GetBiz.Credit system is. You don't have to make the mistakes. You don't have to do the research yourself. You don't need to know who is tier 1, who's going to give me credit if I don't have credit. We have all that work done for you. All you got to do is go in the app. It'll tell you exactly who will give you credit. It'll tell you the terms of what credit they will do. I mean, so you had everything right there. All the guesswork is taken out. You just have to become a member, go through it. And I'll say this, if you are not sure, we have different membership levels. I think we talked about that before. There's a really nice video so you go to getbiz.credit/memberships, and there's a nice video that kind of goes through all the different type of memberships. So you can kind of figure out which one suits you best and get started at that level. You can start at the basic level. It does give you just the basics, so it is what it is, But then you can go gold, to the gold level, and then you can go to the platinum level. Platinum level gives you everything that you need. The platinum level is the best place because you're not stifled. You kind of get the whole thing, the whole course. Everything is laid out for you at the platinum level. And then again, we do have a VIP. So the platinum level, you've got all the information at your fingertips, all the stuff on your dashboard, and you've got everything that you need. At the premium level, you have all of that, but then you have us on the back end doing all of the work, setting up everything for you. So you just continue to run your business and just check in, and you can just see, you get the alerts and notifications at each step and phase that's been done, but you're not having to worry about, every month to do it every week or doing other stuff. We're doing it for you. So that's the beauty of the premium version. So hopefully it was a long-winded answer to that question, but hopefully I did give you an answer.
Worth every second.
Worth
every second.
I hope so.
So if someone is listening and they want to start using vendor credit, what should their next step be?
So it's, kind of like I was talking about, is the best thing is to not jump into it blindly. Just don't just jump in and do it without getting educated. So that's the whole purpose of the webinar that we do. We have a free business webinar. And as a fact, I said, I think this last week, I think it's given away too much. So we are going to take it down. I'm telling you, we are going to. So if you're watching this,
limited time only.
It's coming down. Well, we'll probably put up something different. Right now, it's just giving way too much information away. So you go see it now if you can while it's up. It will still be there. It just won't be the one that's there now. I think I'm trying to slow down a little bit, and it just ain't happened yet. But I would say to answer your question, most important thing is to get educated. We do have a free webinar we talked about, walk you through everything that you need to know. We do have a business credit group on Facebook to connect with other entrepreneurs. You could do that. And again, I mentioned also that if you're ready to go all in, check out the membership options at GetBiz.Credit. Again, it's GetBiz, B-I-Z, .credit. And you can go to the memberships/membership page. And again, to help you choose the right plan for your business. So that's the best way to kind of just, get started with that. So hope that answers that question.
Educate yourself and start from there. Put the rubber to the road.
It's important to just take a step. What's the Sun Tzu, I think, says or Lao Tzu, one of those zoos. No, anyway, that's not good. A philosopher said, the journey of 1,000 miles starts with one step.
Right.
So just take the step. I mentioned before, it's like the Nike slogan is a great slogan. Just do it. You just have to start. You just have to start. Just get started somewhere.
You said last week the first best time to start a business was yesterday or last year or 10 years ago. That's what he said. And the next best time is today.
Yeah, something like that. It was kind of,
I'm paraphrasing. Don't quote me. But the first best time to start a business was 10 years ago. The next best time is today. Yeah, and so it's about starting today, starting where you are, especially for business credit. If you have a business out there, even if you're new, you just want to get started in business. Hey, I've always had this idea. Start your business credit journey at the time you have that concept, because if you start learning and doing this from the beginning, my God, your trajectory for growth, you're on like speed, because there's so many people who just don't get this. And again, if you get access to money, it gives you access to grow faster. So that's ultimately what you should be after as a business owner, is access to money, and not using your own money. If you're using your own money, not good. You're using your own credit, not good. If you don't know what to do, not good. So we have a game plan. It's kind of like getting in the car, not knowing where you're going and refusing to use the GPS and figure it out.
Getting mad because you're getting lost. You know what I mean?
I got a good sense of direction.
Yeah, I know. But you need gas because you're running out. You're thinking it's this way and that way. People use the GPS for a reason, because they don't want to waste time. They want to get right to where they're going, and they want to know which turns they need to make. And that's GetBiz.Credit. You have to be, especially with business credit. Now, the crazy thing is, on your personal side, you really don't have to be intentional with your personal credit, because whether you buy something and you pay for it or you don't, automatically that credit's getting, because most want to get right to where they're going on the personal side, and they want to know which turns they need to make. That's business credit. When it comes to business credit, especially with business credit, the crazy thing is, on your personal side, you really don't have to be intentional with your personal credit, because you have to definitely be intentional. You have to be intentional with setting it up, who you're doing it with, consistently paying it, all those things. And again, you can't, things like you would think, like even a business who pays rent in a building, office space, that doesn't show up on your business credit most times, because most commercial places don't report credit. So not everything is going to report. That's my point. Not everything is going to report to the credit bureaus. And you have to be intentional with finding vendor credits that do, credit lines that do. So I want to just kind of end with this. We're talking about this a lot. It's great questions, by the way.
I got so many more. We'll wait, though. We'll wait.
But vendor credit lines for business is really just not about getting net 30 accounts. It's about building leverage for your business, you know what I mean, which is super important. Relationships, financial systems, and strategic timing. All of that is super, super important when it comes to scaling your business and doing it the smart way. So if you've been relying on your personal credit to fund your business, it's not the best way to do it. It's time to really make a shift. If that's the way you've been relying on your personal credit to fund your dreams, make a shift.
But I got a 750 credit score.
That's great. You want to keep that 750 credit score. And honestly, if you have a 750 credit score, it will help build your business credit faster, because in the beginning, you're going to need that score, in the beginning. And eventually you shouldn't need it. Once you build it strong, your business credit strong enough, it won't be relying on your personal credit whatsoever. But in the beginning, with getting those credit cards, with those loans or whatever, that personal credit can do that. But the whole thing is to strengthen it in a way, your business credit in a way that it doesn't need your personal credit score to do that. So you want to let your business stand on its own 2 feet,
Stand on business.
Stand on business, get the right guidance, and just know that with GetBiz.Credit, you don't have to do it alone. That's super, super important. So, again, I'm going to say go to GetBiz.Credit to watch the membership video and see what level is right for you. We have those free webinar that's out there, exclusive Facebook community.
Free.
It's free right now.
Worth every penny.
Yeah,
worth every second
of your time. Yeah, it is. So
too much information for free.
Yeah, it is. But we're trying to help and educate people and give people information that they need, and that's the important part.
They don't even know they need the information. That's the part that's getting to me. They don't even know they need it.
I think that we had a brief conversation about some people you were speaking to over the phone, and we're just, like I said, oblivious to that. And then some people sometimes can be, what's the word I'm looking for? Resistant, I guess is a lack of better word, to getting new information or to learning something that they've never heard about before. So some people will just shy away from information before they, really trust it, just because maybe they're not familiar with it. Get educated. That's why we always have the free webinar. We have the information. Huh?
They got to research it themselves before
and you know what? Guess what? That's fine. I encourage you to do that, but just know we've done all the research for you. Just kind of follow this. Watch the webinar. Webinar would give you a good thing. But know that mind your business. Know that there's information out there. That's what our whole job is. The whole purpose of what we do is to get that information out there so that you can have it, you can use it, and you can grow your business. This is all about helping you build your business. And again, if you're not interested in helping to scale or help your business move faster or do things better, what is the point of getting into business? And again, remember, if you're risking your personal funds, assets, credit, why? Why? When there's a better way and when there's a right way, that's not the right way. So that's the same. And there's a way. And again, we're showing you the way, showing you how to do it. It's not difficult. You just have to be intentional and you have to do it methodically. And you don't have to even figure out what the method is. We got it right here. Look at this. It's a whole layout right here in the book.
A book and an app.
Yeah.
And a webinar.
We have a book, app, website, webinar. Everything you need is right there. So again, you have no excuse. If you're a business owner, you have zero excuse on not knowing about this information, because a lot of this information we're giving to you for free. It's out there. But again, to do some of these things, you really need to join one of these membership levels. It's an investment in your business. And again, invest in yourself, invest in your business. You'll be happy that you did. And it may take it usually takes about 6 months or so, 3 to 6 months. Even in 30 days, you'll start seeing some of those vendor lines hit. So it's exciting kind of seeing some of that stuff come up, seeing your D&B number. So it's just important to be intentional with this process and to get it going. So, that's all we have for today. What we will do is we will be going live again next Thursday. This is a Thursday. We're going to try to do this every Thursday. This was a challenging day for us. But join us next week, next Thursday. So this is Max Fortune reminding you to mind your business, because if you don't, no one else will do it for you. So, again, keep your mind on your business. And we'll see you next time. I don't know if the producer took us out or not.
Me neither, but that was great.
Well,